Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. I know I haven't been uploading too many videos recently. I've got a lot of stuff going on in real life. I know, extremely boring stuff, real life. Who does that? We just play Dota here. But in any case, I had a whole plan. I was going to do a bunch of videos. I got sick, stuff derailed it, but no biggie. We're going to get back into the groove of things sometime soon here, but I'm still going to be covering the patches, probably releasing a few videos here and there every week or so. But until then, let's just cover the patch, because I thought the patch was actually going to come out like a couple weeks ago. That was another reason I wasn't releasing any videos. I thought after Riyadh it was going to come out like last week, and then it just didn't. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I should release a video or so. So I put out a couple build guides during, and then I put out a guide today actually, and then they just released this patch. But in any case, I figured they were going to release a patch sometime soon. So let's just go over it quickly like I usually do. I'm going to try to blaze through it, not in a way where I'm just like, skipping over too much. I'm going to cover the relevant things, but don't get mad at me like you do all the time when I, skip the thing that you like so much. But anyway, let's get into general updates. And general updates, they're kind of significant, but it's not the biggest of deal. I mean, there's like these things with the auras or whatever, not a huge deal. It's more that Roshan was changed, so now on his second death, he drops the banner, which everyone's been hating on this banner because it's like, I mean, it's kind of been terrible. They're trying to buff it more and more, or like make it more relevant. I still don't know how good it is, but they're at least trying to make you like use it a little bit. And then his third death, or starting from his third death, Roshan now drops Refresher Shard and Cheese during daytime, or Ag's Blessing during night. So that's kind of insane because Ag's Blessing is really, really powerful, but then this is Refresher Shard and Cheese, which were both obviously thought of as worse than Ag's, because this is like everyone has an Ag's. Ag's are really good. You can only use this once. You can only use this once. This is permanent. And now you get both or the other, which is kind of insane. And this also just makes it more of a consideration of like, okay, when do we go Roche, that kind of stuff, like nighttime, daytime, the advantages for all that kind of stuff, and then based on what side it's on and all that. So it makes Roche a little bit different as well. The teleport time to Roshan's outpost decreased by 2 seconds is also pretty big. I think they did nerf this up to 6 seconds from maybe it was around 4 before, so it was shorter before. Now it's back to being shorter because it really did feel like it took forever to teleport there. It just felt horrible. So I like that they're doing this, kind of like opening up the map a little bit more. Then the rest of the stuff are just like there's teleport classification change, break updates to abilities that are like broken or partially broken. There's this ability blocking and reflection, which, I mean, yes, this might matter, but it's like a whole big thing. I'm not going to get into the weeds of all of this. It's like, what does Lincoln's block and what reflects and what does all this stuff? Yeah, it's too much in the weeds. It definitely does have an impact, and some of these things can have a bigger impact than you think, especially in the pro game. But at the end of the day, these like kind of deeper mechanics aren't as big of a deal as the bigger changes. So I'm going to skip all of them because we're not going to waste a lot of time on all these little things that are happening here. But we're also probably going to skip all the neutral creep updates because they basically buffed neutral creeps for the most part, but they didn't do it like a lot. Even this one no longer always casts chain lightning if attacked by lane creeps when pulled. Is that like a buff to the thing? I don't really know. I mean, it's actually like a nerf, I'm pretty sure, because that would help you actually in a lot of ways to clear the creeps. So, and then this is a buff obviously in the early levels, 16 versus 15, but like, is that really a big deal? I don't know. I'm not really sure why they did a lot of this. I mean, it always affects the heroes that can get, creeps and use them, like Chen, like Enchantress, or anybody that buys Helm of the Overlord, but none of that was really happening too much. I mean, some of these heroes are being picked, but like, Beastmaster was extremely popular, but he was never going Helm of the Overlord. So in some ways, I guess this makes that a little bit better. Then they did change Roshan's banner to increase the radius by 50 from 600 to 650. But like, again, it's more that it's like actually dropping now after on the second death rather than it being that much better is the big thing. Bracers were OP. They're not OP anymore. No damage, just health. Health is nice, but it's not nearly as good as damage for laning. Like 100 health later or 50 health in the beginning of the game, like 50 health, dude, that's not very much. Like, sure, it's not nothing, but now bracers are not super OP like they were. Bloodstone nerf, not going to spend a lot of time on that because, like, very few heroes actually buy Bloodstone. I know it was getting kind of popular, but still. Bloodthorn, another nerf because this, item was getting bought on a lot of heroes. Crimson Guard, cooldown increased to 40 seconds, and the additional damage block based on caster's max health decreased. So this was an aura that was getting bought more. I actually don't know, like, here's the thing. They did nerf this, which I guess is fine, because it was like an aura patch. But still, I don't love when this gets nerfed, because it just feels like it's dead for so long that even though it is an aura patch, just like, let this be good, I guess, for 1 second, because, yeah, I mean, you're nerfing all the, you know, the pipe and the greaves, too, which you'll see that in a second, but I just feel like this is always worse than everything, like, even if it is an aura patch, so I don't love that change, but whatever. This Dagon change, the lifesteal bonus is not a huge deal, so it's kind of like whatever. That's like the least, you know, you're not thinking, oh, when I get this, I'm going to get the lifesteal, like, whatever. Eternal Shroud's been good forever. They nerfed it like 50 times, so they're finally nerfing it again because people were still buying it. Now this is like a dead item. I feel like it was already kind of dead, and now it's like a giga dead, I feel like. I mean, this is only 0.5%, but still, it's a decent amount. Ethereal Blade, small change there, not really a big deal, just projectile speed. So Guardian Greaves nerfed, not by a lot, but a little, because it was an aura patch. Heart just kind of nerfed into the ground more. I know people were buying Heart here and there on some heroes, but it was like really good like a year ago, and then they nerfed it, like they've nerfed it once or twice, and that was maybe like the third time in a row or something. So this item might be completely dead. Heaven's Halberd has not really been bought a lot, so it makes sense the slow resistance is getting increased, and the disarm mana cost is being decreased, but that's not a huge deal, but this item has just not been bought very much at all, so it makes sense. Lotus Orb, pretty good, 1 second nerf. Manta Style has been bought for many, many patches. Like, it's just so good on so many heroes for so many different reasons now, so it makes sense that the duration is 2 seconds, which is pretty big, because that is a big difference for being able to push waves. Like, you now have to get a little bit closer to the wave to spawn the illusions and then send them at the wave, which is a big part of getting Manta, is like being able to push waves, so that is significant. The Pavis or Pavis increased a little bit of a buff there, not huge deal. The most, I mean, you're going to be buying this because you buy Solar Crest, I believe, so the recipe cost is decreased a little bit, which these two things, which I think they go into one another, if I'm correct about that. Maybe I'm just like high, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, they weren't being bought because obviously Pipe and all these other things were being bought, and Pipe's now nerfed again, so maybe people will buy this more. I don't know, it's just kind of like one of those things where it's a lot of this item, the auras, it's like, okay, well, this thing is really good, so now it's an aura game, but now all the auras suck, so now it's this other like individual thing that you were going to be buying, like Solar Crests or like Vanguard and stuff like that. It just seems to be, or even like Blade Mail, it seems to be that's how the patch usually works. Shadow Amulet, a bunch of changes which are like half for griefing, I guess, and half for like a warlock or whatever, just different weird things that you can do with it, but it's not a huge deal, just some changes that make it a little bit different. And Spear Vessel was pretty good, so they nerfed it, because like a lot of heroes would buy it on supports or different things like that, or Invoker. But I don't know. I mean, it was good, don't get me wrong, but they did nerf it significantly to the point where I was like, was this really that OP? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, it was good, but it seems a little bit overkill for this item. But in any case, that's the item changes for the most part. I will say neutrals, I'm not going to really focus on that, other than Fairy Trinket is out because this one was just so good for any caster. They brought back Ironwood Tree, and the big one I think is bringing back Iron Talon. So the thing about Iron Talon is now it's a tier 2 neutral item, which I think makes it kind of garbage. I mean, it's hard to say. This still could be really good. Like, the idea is very good in terms of like what it does is obviously good for jungling, but it's tier 2. So by that time, you already have your farming items. Like, yes, you still will jungle, like that will happen still, but it's not as beneficial as getting it in the tier 1. It's just, so I don't really know how good this is going to be. I know people have always like hated this item, like pros and stuff, but honestly I like it. Like, bring jungling back, just like do it. I don't care. It's like, jungling is fun. Like, it's like, just let the off lane be solo. Let me take my 4 position. Dude, we already have 4 position carry anyway. Just let the 4 position be a jungle. Like, who cares, honestly, at this point? Like, you got rid of jungle in the past. It's like, everyone has to lane. But now you're just making 4 position a carry anyway because of the expanded map. So just put Iron Talon in the game as, like, a real item and just let the guy jungle. Like, just get Enigma jungle. Get, like, Veno jungle, which is already kind of a thing now anyway. So, anyway, that's my rant for jungling and for Iron Talon. The rest of this, not a big deal. I'm not really going to focus on it too much. I mean, this is, who really cares anyway? That's gone. So now we get into hero updates, and the biggest thing with this patch pretty much is that any of these boring passives that people had that were just like, oh, you get 5 points in an ability now, those are pretty much all gone. I didn't check to see if any of them still existed. I'm sure maybe a couple of them do, I don't know, but most of those are gone, or it seems like they're changing a lot of them to give them another passive and then just have their basic ability. So Abaddon's is really weird because basically when he like right clicks somebody, if they have if they're below 40% HP, they get their HP regen, healing, lifesteal, spell, lifesteal reduced by 35%. That seems like terrible. I mean, it instantly happens once they're below 40% HP, but like it does nothing otherwise. And like this regen decrease is like only good on very, very specific heroes with very specific matchups. And 40% HP is like pretty low. So I don't know. It just seems bad to me. Like, I mean, I feel like I like this hero as a core. I don't like it as a support as much, even though it does have a save and stuff, but I don't know what this is supposed to be for. I don't know if it's supposed to be for the core hero, because like if you're fighting a guy and like man fighting him, then when you get him low, he can't regenerate. I mean, that could be it, because it's like kind of that Scotty, it's like a built-in Scotty thing, but it doesn't apply those slows and stuff. So I don't know, it's just a little bit awkward there. I don't know how good that actually is. Anti-Mage is pretty cool, because they gave him the slow back, which is important because he had that slow on mana break now. So it kind of does all that stuff that it used to do. Basically, you can think about it that way. But the problem is the only real reason that the hero was picked, in my opinion, was because the Ag Scepter was good, and now they changed that completely to this weird thing like when you blink in, your mana break is empowered on blink, and I don't know. This just seems a little bit awkward. Like, I think it's probably pretty good, don't get me wrong, for like what it is, but in comparison to the previous ags, which was the illusions and stuff, I just don't think it's very good. Like that is way better for just annoying the heck out of people and just like baiting people with spells, like all that kind of stuff. It just made the hero more of like a legit illusion hero, which I guess is kind of cheesy, but still, it's the only real reason you pick the hero. Now it's just kind of like he's back to being all in on that one thing that he does. But at least, I mean, I guess at least his laning stage is back to being good now because of the slow. Then Arc Warden, not really going to spend too much time on this. They just kind of buffed the one and nerfed the other. Now, Beastmaster was a very, very good hero in this last patch, but what's weird is I don't really think they nerfed it that much. So the bonus attack speed per unit over here is rescaled to really not be a big deal for Inner Beast, and then active bonus attack speed rescaled here to really, again, not be a big deal, because these are things where this Inner Beast is no longer innate ability. So these didn't really change. Then the new innate ability is the passive that can't be leveled up, is Beastmaster's melee hero damage block chances increase from 50% to 100%. That's basically the stout shield that everybody has innately, which is pretty cool, don't get me wrong. So like having that is going to be good for the hero. It's just like an added extra thing. But then here, like, yes, mana cost is increased. Okay, that's a little bit of a nerf. You can't farm as quickly maybe, but you just need more mana. You're going mana boots and everything like that. And then this bonus attack speed is rescaled, but, you know, early on it's not as good. Later it's actually +5. And then the Drums of Slom, which is what you would rush with the Ags, it's like, it's worse, don't get me wrong, but is it really that much worse? Like, I don't know if it's that much worse. Like this 0.4 to 0.5, or like the 5 damage per strike. I mean, that does add up, but like, overall, I don't really think the hero got that much worse. Like, I feel like maybe I don't, you know, I'm not really min-maxing the mana with the Wild Axes farming. So I'm not sure if, you know, maybe this mana cost increase is like way worse. I mean, that is 15 mana at max level, so that might be a lot worse, and you might not even be able to farm your Ags nearly as fast now because you really have mana issues. You know, there are all these things add up, so it is good that it's getting nerfed, but I don't know if it's like enough to really take the hero completely out of existence, but maybe it does. Bloodseeker, not a big deal. Like, yeah, you get full heal with denying, that just makes the laning stage better, but it doesn't change the dynamic of the hero that much. Bounty Hunter nerfs, again, not a big deal. I mean, yes, they're going to make the hero worse, but nothing like super crazy game changer there. Brewmaster has a kind of weird new innate ability where when he respawns or he comes out of Primal Split, he gets 20% attack damage and yeah, he gains 20% attack damage bonus, which is kind of insane. Now, it's when he respawns, it's 30 seconds. When he comes out of Split, it's 15 seconds that the duration is, which is interesting because like when you respawn from dying, you can just like go immediately teleport and like fight right then, which is pretty cool. Or once you get out of your ult, you're just not immediately useless, which it feels like you were useless like right after that, unless you had already won the fight. So it's like, I mean, a 20% attack damage bonus is not nothing. So you can actually do something after you get, you're done with split. And then they had some changes here, but I'm not going to focus too much on that. Bristleback is pretty interesting because his facets were just absolute garbage. I felt like it just felt like you didn't want to pick either one. So now this is kind of cool because now you don't have like a negative facet. If you don't want to play the one way, you can play this way at least, where Warpath can be activated to grant bonus attack damage and bonus move speed per stack. You still do get like a negative aspect because your vision is decreased to a 90-degree cone, but you don't have to activate this. Like, you can activate this when you want to. So that makes it something where it's not always going to be bad. Plus you get it's kind of a trade-off there, which is pretty cool. So I think that's good for the hero. And then the new innate ability is that the hero gets 10% damage and debuff duration amplification against enemy heroes that are behind him. So it seems like this hero has always been a little bit awkward because the Warpath and then the Bristleback kind of feel like they are playing against each other with how the hero wants to play. But then obviously with the Ag Scepter, with the Quill Spray from behind, that's pretty good too. So I like this passive. I just like all of that kind of combined. And then you can kind of go in the direction of the Warpath as well with you like right-clicking people and stuff. So I don't know. It just still feels a little bit awkward, but I don't mind it. I think Bristleback is a decent hero and you can go for like more of a tanky, using your back as the thing that you use, fountain diving people or something, or you can go for that more carry-oriented right-clicking build still, and that's something you can definitely do, especially with this Warpath seeing red thing now. Then we have Broodmother, who was pretty good in this last patch, and they nerfed it a little bit, but I don't know, the hero was being picked as, like, in a lot of ways, a carry. So I don't really know that this small, as far as I'm concerned, nerf and like these talent nerfs are really going to change that all that much. I'll be interested to see. I mean, it is annoying. I don't think this version of Brood is nearly as annoying as maybe some other versions. It's still annoying, don't get me wrong, but it's not nearly as annoying in my opinion. I haven't played against it a ton. Not a lot of pubs. Not a lot of people specialize in Brood in pubs, but when I do play against it, it doesn't feel like it's nearly as cheesy as it has in the past, but it still is, still, people don't like to play against Brood, neither do I, so I would like to see the hero die, but I don't think this is enough to kill it. Chaos Knight, the irrationality facet was just so stupid because it could just do nothing. Now, instead of doing nothing, it silences, so that's pretty good. It's just going to be good because now he just got this free potential to silence. So this hero could like now actually kind of seem like maybe being an off lane or a support kind of thing. I mean, that's definitely with the carry from the 4 position. I mean, this hero is like getting into support 4 position territory, I think, with the stun and all this different stuff that you can do. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like that's definitely possible. Clockwork's been very good. Small nerfs. I don't think that's going to kill him, but it just makes him not as good. Crystal Maiden, small change there. Not a big deal at all. Darkseer has been one of the best heroes of the patch, but again, they are nerfing these auras, so that's one nerf to him in general, but then he's also getting nerfed with his facet, or his passive here, where intelligence now cannot be lower than the average of strength and agility, so you kind of have to level up both of them or get both of those things, so it just makes it a little bit worse, but I don't know how much worse it's going to be. It's more, I feel like, just even the fact that the auras are worse that makes this hero worse in a lot of ways. Dazzle some small buffs because the hero's not very good. Death Prophet is being changed, which is decent. This Spear Collector is kind of cool. I always thought that was like a cool idea. Now her death counts, which I thought that her death counted before. So I don't know what that was about. I swear I read that before, but I guess not. This morning ritual is very interesting. And it's something that I think I've read in a couple different ways. I think Kunkka will have another thing like that as well. But there's almost like a few things like this they're adding now with this like delayed damage thing. So this is giving like the Kunkka boat rum on this hero as like the facet, which is interesting because basically she delays a percentage of the incoming damage and then takes the damage over the next few seconds and kind of like stretches out that damage, so it's not happening all at one time. It's not like bursting her down, which is good for this hero because she's tanky and she also like drains people's HP and all that kind of stuff. So if you can survive initially like burst damage, you can like get all of that health back in a very quick time, so you can go all in on this like tanky version where you just like lifesteal and all that kind of stuff, and it can be super, super powerful. I could see this being absolutely terrible though, because the numbers aren't tweaked right, or I could see this actually being broken. So just be aware that Death Prophet could be like a broken hero this patch with this morning ritual. Just be aware of that. It might not happen, but it could be really, really good. That's the main thing. You know, these other things, this hero has been dead for a little bit, so they're going to be buffing it in general. But again, this is the biggest thing, I think, this morning ritual. Then we have Disruptor. They're just not changing Kinetic Fence, which is garbage. And they're just like, oh, here, give some more cast range. Nobody cares. Okay, it's garbage. Why even do this? Whatever. That's like, just stop. Just change it. You made a dumb decision. Walk it back. Do something different. Just admit your mistake, and let's move on. With Doom, this is I like these little quirky ideas, I guess, in some ways. Like every 6.66 minutes, the duration is increased by 0.66 seconds. Like, okay. I mean, I guess that's fine, whatever. Dragon Knight, this corrosive dragon facet was nerfed a little bit, which I guess it was needed. This hero was I don't know, whenever I read it originally when it was first changed, I felt like, yeah, this hero's not going to be good. Like, because you had this, you know, the dragon had all three of these things when you got max level, and they nerfed the Ags and all that kind of stuff. And then I was reading a little more, and I was like, oh, wait, these three are actually pretty good. Or I was like seeing it being played, and then, you know, people were playing Dragon Knight in all different kinds of roles, and now people were playing this hero as a carry recently. So it's just, this hero is actually, I guess, pretty decent in those ways, so they just nerfed it a little bit, but not a huge deal. Drow, I feel like this hero has potential to be good, especially in pubs, but especially now they're buffing it too, so like I think it can be good. I think it's just really hard to be good at, you know, Drow in the pro game, because you can just get jumped and die so quickly. It's just really hard for that to be good. But I would say definitely in pubs, you could totally play that hero. Earth Spirit is pretty much dead. I mean, this rolling boulder thing with the ready to roll, rolling into your allies, it's kind of cool, but like this hero's been dead ever since they've nerfed the way that like the cooldown on the roll or whatever, it now starts when you're done instead of before it started when you started, I guess. And like they just changed a bunch of that stuff, and it kind of killed the hero, and it's just never been back since. And this is not going to change that, I don't think. Earthshaker, they're just really trying to pump up the meme here with the slugger. Now whenever you kill any creep or hero or anything like that with any ability, they knock back, which is kind of interesting. I guess that's fine. And then this is the real thing that's actually pretty cool, this new passive, which is a Spirit Cairn or whatever, Sarn. See, I have to look that up. Okay, just make fun of me in the comments or whatever. When Earthshaker dies, a 75 radius fissure is created where he died. The fissure blocks movement, provides vision, and allows Earthshaker to gain experience around it. And that last part is the most important part, I think. Gain experience around it. Now, I don't know what exactly that AoE is. I mean, it says 75 radius, but I'm guessing the AoE is a little bit like just maybe like normal, you know, hero radius. That would kind of be insane, because then in lane you can literally just like run in and die, and it doesn't matter for your own experience. Now obviously you're like still sapping experience, and you don't want to feed, of course, but and then even like when you jump in the fight, let's say you counter initiate or whatever, and you just like burst people and then you die later, you're still like getting experience in that area when the fight continues. So you're just like still keeping up with experience, which is pretty cool. I mean, I think that's very, very good. At least when I read it, it seems like something that's not really ever been done in Dota, in the sense of like, oh, I'm gaining experience even though I'm dead, and I'm kind of like, it doesn't matter as much that I die, because the thing that you miss out on a lot when you die is that experience from the lane and stuff, and now that doesn't really matter as much. Plus it gives vision, all those kinds of things. It's pretty cool. Elder Titan, this is a little bit of a weird one. His new innate ability, allied creeps and buildings affected by Glyph of Fortification or Roshan's Banner deal 100% bonus damage. I don't know if that's good. It seems weird, but I mean, it definitely makes Glyph better, of course, obviously. But I mean, combined with Banner getting it more often now, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Elder Titan's one of those like all or nothing. Either nobody picks it, it's terrible, or it's like amazing and broken. So we'll see what happens with that. Ember Spirit, the Sleight of Fist double impact was just the thing everyone was picking. So now it's nerfed a little bit. The biggest thing here is that he has this new innate ability. So he basically just deals damage around him just at all levels, and it scales with Fire Remnant. So he's kind of just has like a permanent radiance now, which is interesting. He kind of already had something similar to that a little bit, but this is different in a way. So it's like basically has 2 flame guards now. You could buy radiance on top of that. Now you're just like burning people for insane damage. I don't know. We'll see if that's like the build. I doubt it, obviously, but who knows? I mean, you could do like some kind of carry radiance ember. That could be a thing. Enchantress is another really weird one, because now all neutral camps deal more damage to enemy heroes. Damage increased is 10% plus 3% per Enchantress's hero level. So, and this says, does not affect converted neutrals, Tormentor, or Roshan. So that's like, Oh, it's just really weird. Like, you're just like, oh, I'm just picking Enchantress to make it harder for you to jungle and to grief you. I don't know. That's pretty cool in a way. I don't know if it's good. I mean, 10% is not nothing. I mean, that's not nothing early on. Just like later in the game when neutrals become pointless, like you can just kill them super easily. It's not a big deal. It's more just like the first, like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is. I mean, this can have a pretty big impact on just like making the entire team have less gold. Honestly, it might be, I don't know how broken it is, but it sounds like there's even the idea, the concept is broken in the sense where you can just like, okay, I pick Enchantress, and now the enemy team just has like 10% or whatever less gold at 10, 15 minutes. That could be a huge deal, to be honest. But we'll see. It might just be like nothing at the end of the day. Enigma, not huge, big deal, anything there. I mean, there's really nothing super big to talk about. Just movement slow in the beginning is a little nerfed there and stuff like that. So Chronosphere now change, like this whole, oh, we're renaming it, like whatever, who cares? I mean, this whole thing, not a big deal. I know that people are trying the Faceless Void time lock, whatever it's called, thing, and like being like, this is actually good, guys. No, it's not. I don't think so. Like I saw Thompson try it or whatever in Riyadh, and it was just like terrible. I think that was what it was. I just don't think it's very good. Grimstroke, small change there, not a big deal. Gyrocopter, small change there, not a huge deal. Hoodwink nerfed again because this hero just seems to always be popping back into the meta and being good, so they're just like decreasing in range and damage numbers and all that kind of stuff because it's the carry from the forward position. This hero's been around doing that for a long time now, and it's still relevant. Huskar, this is kind of interesting because this hero is getting now this new facet where spears also burn enemies for 1% of their max health each second. Now it costs 4% of max health instead of 4% of current health for you. And then duration is decreased from 9 seconds to 6 seconds. So this does, like, basically you're kind of going all in on damage, but you do more damage to yourself. So you're going like all tanky build. This is just one of those feel things. I don't play a lot of Huskar, but I've played a decent amount of it in the past. And it's really all about feel. Like, do I feel tanky? Do I feel like I can go in? Do I feel like I'm going to die? You know, do I feel unkillable? It's all about feel. Like, you don't really think about the numbers as much as, like, do I feel like I'm doing a lot of damage? All that kind of stuff. So we'll see how this plays out. This hero's kind of been dead for a long time now. And then ever since even they made the change where it doesn't have mana anymore, he hasn't really been relevant. So we'll see if this is enough to, like, bring him back into the meta. Jakiro, small change here, not a big deal. Juggernaut, small changes to the talents, not a big deal. Kunkka is another interesting one. His new innate ability is basically his passive, which is Admiral's Rum. So now when he gets below 65% health, he immediately triggers the rum that you would get from Ghost Ship, basically. I mean, that's pretty much how it works. And then they changed some of these things, like, you know, Tidebringer's no longer the innate ability, that kind of stuff, which definitely hurts him for just having 2 abilities in the beginning, but whatever. And that's the one thing that does hurt for some of these heroes. They don't just get a free ability, which I think is stupid anyway, so I'm glad they're doing that. But then also Ghost Ship, allied heroes touched by Ghost Ship, by the Ghost Ship receive a stronger Admiral's Rum, so that is another thing too. They buffed that a little bit as well. So we'll see how this all works out. Again, it is a feel thing with these kinds of things. It's just more damage reduction is good. Who knows, maybe this like, oh, when I get below 65% health, I'm super tanky, or maybe this is just actually terrible and it just feels like it does nothing. Like, I don't know. It's very hard to tell exactly what's going to happen with things like this because of how, like, it's all about feel. The bigger thing is, though, with this whole idea is that Torrent Storm ability removed. Because this was the reason the hero was good for so long, and they nerfed the crap out of it because it was just so annoying. This ability was insanely annoying. Like, you literally didn't have to do anything other than you just, like, press Ghost Ship, press Torrent Storm, and just the whole screen was just like, what is going on in the game? It was insane. Even for, like, allies, it was hard to tell what was happening. But now the Ag Scepter is for Ghost Ship, creates a fleet of 2 ships at the target point, and each ship also fires 3 waves of cannonballs. So it's like just a better Ghost Ship pretty much with this fleet thing and now firing cannonballs and all that kind of stuff. So it's not, I don't think it's as good as Torrent Storm. Torrent Storm was insane. That's why they just kept nerfing it, but it's a decent ability. I mean, we'll see again how it plays out with all this kind of stuff. But look out for Kunkka. I mean, he could be good. You never know. Legion Commander, this one I don't like as much. It kind of seems pointless. So Moment of Courage, you no longer get that for free, which sucks for the early laning stage because obviously you just want to have this, which you get some free lifesteal, some free attacks in there, and you also get your attack speed and like damage nuke, which is always going to be good. But now you don't get that level 1. You have to choose, which is kind of annoying. And then you get this innate ability, this passive, which attacking an enemy hero that has a higher level increases your HP regen, lifesteal, incoming heals by 50% for 4 seconds. Like, I don't know. This seems terrible to me. Like, why? first of all, for the most part, you're going to be picking off heroes that are like supports or squishy or whatever. Like sometimes you'll be picking off a carry and that's fine or whatever. But even so, like the lifesteal aspect of the hero isn't really the thing I'm thinking about. You know what I mean? Like it's all about the damage numbers, high damage, of bursting the hero down super quick, jumping in, killing them. Do I really care about the lifesteal after that? I don't think so. That's not really what I care about. So I don't know. This just seems bad to me. Like, sure, I mean, you're kind of in a way getting a free thing, but are you really? Like, I don't know. That just doesn't seem good. Leshrac, small change, not a big deal. Lifestealer, small change. They basically added that HP gain to his feast and then renamed this facet to rage and stuff like that. I don't know. It's kind of whatever. Lina, kind of interesting, because now she does, when she does damage to heroes, every 150 damage she does, they have like a little aura around them that deals damage to them and their allies in a 400 radius, which is kind of cool. It just gives her this extra more damage over time, like extra magic damage kind of thing. So I don't know if that's enough to like actually bring her into the meta in any real way. I do really like Lina, especially in pubs, especially for newer players as a mid. She does spell damage, she does right click damage, she does a little bit of everything, split pushes, team fights, she, hits towers. She does everything, and I just think all these little buffs to her just make her even better for pubs in general. But when she ends up being good in pros, she is just a menace in pubs, I will say that. So we'll watch out for that. Lion was kind of like insane, 6 months to a year ago when his mana drain was ridiculous, and now they're just buffing it a little bit more, but not a big deal. Lone Druid is something I am going to talk about because I don't think I focused too much on it before when they changed it because it just was confusing. It didn't make any sense, and it was like kind of what's going on here. But now they kind of changed the facets a little bit. So the unbearable facet now is basically, okay, I'm going for this bear. I want the attack distance threshold to increase, which is like, okay, great. I'm going to be doing that, focusing on the bear. I'm just going to be buying the normal items like the Wraith Bands or whatever on the Lone Druid. But this one is kind of interesting, and I like it in some ways. We'll see if it's good. But basically, Lone Druid can only use 3 slots in his inventory, but he gets all these bonus passive stats from them, and scales with true form. So he gets this strength, agility, intelligence, health, mana, evasion, attack speed, bonus damage, all this kind of stuff. Is this good? I have no idea. It's very weird. I don't really know. Like, I think it's just more if you don't care about this 500, which I don't know how good that is either. I think it can be good in certain situations, but otherwise, you're just going to be with your dude anyway. I think this is pretty cool. Because you usually don't get, like, obviously other than filling it up with Wraith Bands, you usually don't get 6 slotted as like an actual hero anyway. So now just only having to worry about those 3 slots is pretty cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, like that's kind of cool. Like maybe you just buy treads and you just can buy like 2 items or something, and now your hero is like way more of a threat because you're getting all this bonus percentage passive stats from that. I think that's a cool idea. Now, the innate ability passive can't be leveled up. Lone Druid can reroll his neutral token once per tier, and now the Spirit Bear gets the same neutral token that you have. So you basically just get 1. So not a huge deal, but like kind of an interesting change. Especially because obviously like early on in the game, it can be weird with the neutral tokens with this hero. So now you don't really have to worry about that. You have to worry which neutral token works for both of you. But I think in the way that you're using the heroes, especially because like in team fights, you're right-clicking with your hero as well, it kind of works to get the same neutral token for both of them. Then Luna's another one that's interesting, that's getting changed a little bit. The Lunar Blessing is moved to an innate ability. So this ability is kind of removed altogether. So where before, in some other cases, they just like kept the ability as a real ability, gave them a new passive, and then just instead of having 5 levels, you only had 4. Lunar, they're just taking the Lunar Blessing and just like, okay, here is the innate ability. This is your passive, and like, we're just giving you a whole new ability, which is kind of new, but kind of old. It's like the Shard before, but anyway. The point is that you basically just get more damage. Grants 1 attack damage per level to Luna and allied heroes, and 400 bonus night vision, plus 20 per level to Luna only. So this is basically just Lunar Blessing, but you're just getting more with the levels, which is pretty cool. Just getting free damage. You don't really have to worry about it. Now you can just straight up, go for Moonglaves. Or you can go for this Lunar Orbit, which is a new basic ability and creates 4 glaives that rotate in a 250 radius around Luna. Any enemy unit that collides with the glaives takes a percentage of her attack damage, collision damage percentage, duration, mana cost, all that kind of stuff is listed there. Now that Agham's Shard upgrades this, which is kind of like what it did with the Moon Glaives before, but increases the collision damage by 15%, and the glaives rotate faster. So This is all about damage, where I think there was damage reduction before, and it seems like there's not this time, which is a pretty significant like nerf in a way. But I think overall, giving this hero just this ability to farm, because now you're getting more damage here. Now this might be less overall damage than the other ability, you know, the actual ability that you could put points into, but you don't have to put points into that anymore. You're just getting that for free. You still have your Moonglaves for cleaving, and you still have this, which could be a very good ability, you know, in the lane, so that you can't get run down, and you can even obviously use this ability for farming. So now you have like 3 abilities that help you farm even more, where you know, your passive, your lunar orbit, and your Moonglaves. All these things are going to help your farm, because this hero isn't like a real ranged hero. Like, you're still going to be sitting in the creep wave or like in the neutral camp when you farm them for the most part. Like, it is ranged, but you're pretty close range. Like, Luna and Gyro are kind of like that in a way, where they like generally have a relatively close attack range. It's not like a sniper or a Lena or a Drow or anything like that. So I think this hero's farm just might be absolutely insane. Like the farm speed might be crazy on that hero. So look out for this hero to be kind of good. Then Lycan, some changes with the wolves. I'm not really going to focus on this alpha wolf. You know, I don't know. Lycan's a really niche hero, and I'm not going to actually be able to tell you whether this is good or not. I really don't know. Magnus, they kind of added that thing where you just do extra damage with trees and cliffs to the actual skewer ability. So, I mean, whatever, you're probably always going to be picking this anyway. You're not doing reverse polarity. It's garbage. So, not super big deal. Marcy, not a super big deal. Medusa is a bigger one, because the other facet mana pact or whatever was absolute garbage. It was like, oh, hey, just kill yourself for no reason, and it's not even good. And it's like, why would I do that? Now you can pick this one, which every 5th attack slows enemies, which is pretty good. Their movement speed and their attack speed and their cast speed, which is kind of insane. So if you just get a lot of attack speed on this hero, every 5th attack is like destroying people. Like, you can just man fight up on people like to an insane degree, which is kind of insane. Now you get Mana Shield as no longer a levelable ability. So it's like, because it was also the passive before, now it's just staying there. So it's kind of like the same thing with Luna in a way. But yeah, so this is just like part of the hero now. And then you also have this Gorgon's Grasp ability. So it's a new basic ability. So you're just getting all this stuff for free. This hero might be absolutely insanely broken, because I mean, I don't know how good this Mana Shield is. We'll see. Like, I'm comparing the numbers. I don't know them off the top of my head. So maybe the Mana Shield's like way worse, and that's why the hero's not as good. But it seems like you're getting this Venomous Volley for free, pretty much. I mean, I don't know, again, comparatively to the other one, if this is good, but this seems insane. And then you're getting this free ability, which is, I mean, it seems pretty good. You fire a volley of arrows into the sky to land in 3 groups in a line, with each grouping larger than the previous. Enemies struck by a grouping of arrows take a bunch of physical damage and are rooted, which is kind of insane. Can't turn and take 100 physical damage per second for up to 2 seconds, which is ridiculous. So they are rooted. I think that's a big thing, because obviously the only thing you could really do on the hero to control anything was get an Ags or like run at people pretty quickly, because you get bonus move speed from Stone Gaze and like stand in front of them. But other than that, you were just kind of really relying on your team to like actually do stuff for you so you could kill people. Now you have this ability, you kind of do all the same stuff you did before, and now you have this ability that's like, okay, now I can root you and do even more damage. Like, I don't know, this hero seems like it might be just the best hero of the patch. I mean, I might be an idiot and I have no idea what I'm talking about, but when you give a hero a bunch of free stuff like this, I just don't see, I already don't think the hero was that bad. Yeah, I think in pros it wasn't amazing or anything, but in pubs I don't think it was that bad. Like, you could definitely get away with it, and now you just gave this hero a ton of free stuff. Morana, some changes that aren't a big deal. Monkey, some changes that, again, aren't a big deal. This hero was getting picked a decent amount, so I think it was some nerfs here. But still, not a huge deal, I think. And then Muerta, some small buffs there, not a big deal. Naga Siren, a bunch of small buffs again, not a big deal. Nature's Prophet, some small buffs because his hero's dead, not a big deal. I know some people are trying to do cheese builds and stuff like that with the tree and whatever, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it's really that good because it never really caught on. Nyx Assassin is a weird one. This mana burn, which I feel like people weren't really picking anyway, it doesn't scale with the Vendetta, no longer has a damage threshold, now only triggers from Nyx's abilities, and the percentage of mana is decreased. I feel like people weren't really picking this anyway, but that's probably, I don't know, I think they changed it to make it better because it triggers from Nyx's ability damage. I don't know, I would have to look at the old one and see why exactly they did this, because I'm pretty sure everyone was picking the other one. I don't see how this really like makes it better. You know what I mean? Am I like high? Am I not reading this right? But anyway, now reveals enemy heroes in Fog of War. That's pretty good. Radius decrease, which is not as good, of course, but 50 is kind of whatever. And then Ag Shard reworked Vendetta applies break for 4 seconds. That's kind of insane. So this hero, I think, was already really good in pubs, a complete menace. People were picking a lot, and this, I don't really think this got nerfed that much. Like, sure, the talents, whatever, you know, it's not as good, and there are things about it, like this is not as good, but reveals in Fog of War is kind of good. This break, though, is super good. Because this did have break on the alt before, I don't even know, 2-3 years ago or something, and it was really good back then, and they took that away, and then it had like mana burn for a bit, and they changed it up. But break, you just can never underestimate break, because it is like a rare thing that isn't always available in the game, especially when Silver Edge is garbage, which it's been garbage for a long time now. Ever since I think they took the crit out of it because it had crit before, and then before that it had like Echo Saber in it. You know, there was times when the Silver Edge was good, but now that it's terrible, like you need a break on your team sometimes. Like you just need one, and it just feels like if you don't have one, it's terrible. And this hero's already pretty good. So, and then like obviously running up on a Bristleback or something, this is just going to be even better. Ogre, not a big deal there. Omni Knight, this is just an awkward hero. Like they're changing a bunch of stuff here, but I just don't know how good this is going to be. Like this Guardian Angel is like kind of one of the big changes where they changed it to a point target ability in like an AoE, so it affects like all the allied units in a 400 radius. It doesn't have 2 charges anymore. That feels to me like a support ability where you're kind of casting it on the ground when someone gets initiated on, but it just feels awkward because this Hammer of Purity, it's like this hero, it wants to be kind of a core, and I guess you are chasing people down, you're slowing them in some ways, I guess, but I don't know. It just feels really weird. This hero is in a weird spot. And so they make all these little changes here, but I don't really see how this makes this hero a better solo, like, right clicker. I mean, the way it was a couple patches ago or whatever, when it was just like jumping in and bursting people, that was super cheesy, it felt like. But at least it was like something Omni Knight could do, which before it just felt like all the hero did was press R. It was like basically Silencer. So I think I want them to get Omni Knight, Silencer, these heroes, just get them to a place where they can actually do something, like have a role, like even Abaddon, just make them a core, because they have just not been good supports for a long time. Even as supports go, these supports are becoming cores anyway, so just like give the guy an ability to be a core. I don't really think this is doing that. OD, some small changes there. Pango buffed, like what? I mean, I understand Rolling Thunder damage rescaled early on, it's lower, but like what? At the higher level it's 225 versus 200. Like, what's going on there? That doesn't even make any sense. I mean, level 20 talent, I mean, whatever. But, like... And, oh, wait, level 20 10, swashbuckle cooldown reduction increased. Am I high? Am I high right now? Like, okay, I need to read this. Damage rescaled. Okay. Okay, so, yeah, it's literally better at... I mean, yeah, in the beginning it's not as good. Okay, what? And this... The 25 talent swashbuckle cooldown reduction increased. Well, I don't know what's happening. I'm pretty sure this hero was already really good. So I don't really... Like, you guys need to tell me, am I actually high? Because I don't know what I'm looking at here. This is not a big deal, but I feel like I'm reading this wrong and I'm, like, on drugs or something. Because this is insane. Anyway. Phantom Assassin now disjoints projectiles and whatever, and it's kind of some small changes there. I'm reading this because I want PA to be good, and it was just a little bit awkward. I wanted to spend some time talking about PA. I've seen people play this hero and actually like go for attack speed and just skip. Is it Deso? Yeah, skip Deso altogether. It's an interesting build, I think, on the hero, where it's like every 6 hits or whatever you get a proc. I think that could be a kind of cool way to play the hero, but I mean we'll see what happens. But anyway. And I wanted to just mention that for a little bit. Phantom Lancer, I think this hero could be completely broken in pubs in certain situations. Now, they are nerfing this, which is... I mean, let's be honest. Nobody wants to see this hero. Like, nobody wants to see it. Because if it gets good, it's going to be super, super annoying. So people were picking this a lot, which makes sense that it's nerfed. But this new passive, you get 65% of original bonus damage because items will give you base damage or just like bonus damage, but now you get the base damage instead. It's basically for your illusions to do more damage, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, there's nerfs here. Nerfs here, nerfs all around the board. I don't really know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think this hero was really picked all that much in the pros. I think this is more just like a pub nerf, in my opinion. Phoenix, small changes, not a huge deal there. Primal Beast, some small changes again. There's like some little buffs here, not a huge deal. Puck, some small changes. They basically allow you to actually see where it's curving. No one's picking it anyway. No one's still going to pick it, I feel like. So just because you can see where it's curving doesn't really mean anything. Pugna, it's kind of cool. You get Spell Amp for towers. Okay, I mean, whatever, but not a huge deal. Queen of Pain, kind of an awkward hero right now. I think it's okay, but I think it just is going to keep being okay. I don't think any of this really does anything. Like, return damage increased, mana cost decreased. I don't really see this being a huge, like, oh, putting it over the top. This hero's insane now. I just don't see that happening. Same thing with Razor, nothing really huge there. Ricky has kind of been dead for a long time. They kind of nerfed the hero into the ground. They're giving it 0.5% extra multiplier with that agility bonus, which is good because I think they nerfed it really bad. Like, they kind of killed it like a while ago. Like, it was like insane damage that you would do, and then they just like destroyed it. So they're bringing it back a little bit, but I don't think it's enough to actually make the hero good. Rubik, small changes, not a huge deal there. Sand King was one of the better offlaners of the patch, so they're just kind of nerfing it all around. They're making this one better, though, this Dust Devil, because I think it was really good at one point. It was like broken, and then people just stopped picking it altogether when they nerfed it. So now they're kind of bringing it back, being like, hey, you can still pick this if you want. Otherwise, they pretty much just nerfed everything altogether. This Stinger was like one of the big reasons that the hero was good and kept being good, because after they nerfed the like broken part of it, that people realized, oh wait, this hero just got a free ability and can like lane way better now. Because I think laning was one of the problems with the hero. It was kind of like awkward, and now, you know, the hero can be really good. So it makes sense they're just kind of nerfing it in all these different ways. Now this Ag Scepter was removed, which is a big deal, because that was one of the things that made the hero good. Now the Epicenter is upgraded with Ags, and every 0.5 seconds, 3 Stinger attacks areas are created at random locations. But this is with Epicenter. So yeah, I just think this probably kills the hero, because the Ags was like, I think, one of the bigger things with the hero. So now it's kind of like, yeah, that sucks. Which I liked the hero. I liked that the hero was good. It can be annoying in some situations, but the hero was dead forever. I hope it's not completely dead, but it seems like it might be. Shadow Demon, some small changes, not a big deal. Shadow Fiend, these changes are not huge, but they did nerf it. This hero was pretty good, especially in pubs. I don't know how much it was really being played in the pros. I mean, it was getting picked some, but I don't think it was like the most insane hero of the patch or anything like that. But it was definitely pretty good, especially in pubs. So they're just making the mana cost increase, the stack duration is decreased, this Necromastery hero kills no longer increase max souls, but this Necromastery on lasting presence, every hero kill increases max souls, so it's kind of switched up there. And then the Requiem souls, which is one of the big things for like the magic build, the width was decreased by a little bit, and the duration of the soul hit was decreased for like that fear. So, you know, some small things. I don't think it was these aren't huge. 5 mana, 1 second, 0.1 second for fear, all that kind of stuff. Not a big deal, but it's enough to make the hero like, these small nerfs help to not make it feel like this hero is absolutely broken. Shadow Shaman was like insane for so long, but then he kind of fell off a little bit. No one ever picks this Mass Serpent Ward anyway, so they're kind of making it a little bit better, but it's still garbage, I think, and that's pretty much all I would have to say about these changes. Silencer is another one, which I already kind of talked about a little bit, which they just need to make this hero a core. Because if it's been picked, it's always been picked as a just click R hero, and they have kind of changed it. It has been a little bit better here and there, and I think the most recent change has been good, but they need to figure out a way to make this hero like a mid hero and not just like a support that's annoying. I think that's the biggest thing. So they changed this a little bit here. The biggest one, I think, is that he also steals intelligence if the dying unit was debuffed, and not even if it's out of range, which I think is a pretty big deal, because I think that happens a decent bit with this kind of hero. Otherwise, it's, some small stuff there, and like mana cost decreased early on, stuff like that, to make it a little bit better. But again, I want it to be a core. Sky, some small changes there, not a big deal. Slark, small changes. Slark, small changes. My boy Slark just got a little bit of a buff, but not really too significant. Snapfire was getting picked a decent amount, but the impact damage for Cookie was increased, which is interesting, and the little shredder account was decreased. So it was kind of getting picked, I think, more as like an off lane, like in pubs and stuff. I saw that sometimes, and focusing on this little Lil I guess you would say, Shredder. So they kind of nerfed that, but then made the cookie and like the support version a little bit better. Obviously, these talents then also make it a little bit worse too. They kind of, I guess they just really don't like, I mean, but they're keeping the right-click version in the game, but they really seem to not like it, because every time it gets good, they just destroy it. Sniper was good a while ago. It hasn't been good for a while in this patch. Just kind of small buffs there. Small buffs to Spectre because it's been kind of a dead hero for a while. And then Spirit Breaker, a little bit of a nerf. This hero was pretty good, I'd say. So it makes sense that they're nerfing a little bit. Storm Spirit was really good in the beginning of the patch, and they made some changes, nerfed it here and there, so it kind of disappeared, but it's still okay. Don't get me wrong. So they're now changing it to be a little bit better in some ways, but not anything too significant. Sven was like becoming just a freaking, I don't know, like a 4 position or like a 5 position, like a support these days, just from like Warcry and stuff like that. It was just really awkward. And it was, I did kind of predict that Sven was getting better with damage as well, so you could even pick, I think you could pick Sven carry and things like that. And it was pretty popular, so they're just nerfing it altogether, but Warcry was really like the broken thing, so it makes sense that they kind of nerfed all the numbers on that. Techies, not a big deal. You get like, now with each point of attack speed, you also get a projectile speed. Interesting. Nobody cares, but it's kind of funny. Just like another meme hero. So this Templar Assassin change is pretty interesting. The passive Third Eye. New innate ability. Templar Assassin and her teammates can see Roshan's respawn timer. I don't know. I like new and interesting ideas. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if I really love this kind of new and interesting idea, because this kind of stuff is just one of those where it just feels super like you're cheating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just get that extra bit that just makes you kind of... And this traps no longer provide vision inside the Roshan pit, so that is a nerf in some ways, but like you can see the Roshan timer, which is... that's huge almost. I feel like that's like a really big deal, because yes, you can always like have traps to see when it does spawn, but actually knowing when it spawns is way more of a thing where you can actually like plan a whole coordination around that, knowing exactly, like being there at that moment is huge. Not just like seeing when it spawns and then having this delay of, okay, well now we got to get everyone together to go there. Like, you know when it's spawning exactly, and you can be there that moment and then kill it. I think that's huge, honestly. That's like a huge change. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. I mean, regardless of any of this other stuff, that's the biggest thing. Terrorblade, not a big deal. Tidehunter, not a big deal. Timbersaw, not a big deal. Tinker, they're trying to meme this hero into existence, and they're not really doing it. I mean, I've seen that it has been decent, don't get me wrong, but I'm just like, I hate what they've done with it, honestly. It's very annoying to me. Okay, and then Tiny is the hero of the patch. Like, it's just completely ridiculous broken. I love how they're pretending that damage no longer pierces magic resistance granted by debuff immunity, as if that was not a bug. Like, they're like, oh yeah, this is just like this was intended. No, that was a bug for sure. I saw someone comment that in the comments, by the way. Shout out to you that you said that. You knew that. I did see that as well in somebody's like video one time, or stream or something. It happened. It's kind of insane that was even happening. So they nerfed toss across the board because that was the thing that made this hero broken. His toss was just doing like 1 billion damage. It was literally Laguna Blade on a 12-second cooldown. That's what I heard someone say. It was just stupid. Like, so they nerf toss here, they nerf toss here, they nerf toss here. Like, they just nerf toss across the board. Is that enough to kill the hero? No, because I think this hero is just ridiculous anyway. I think the hero has just been good forever. Like, when is the last time the hero Tiny was never picked ever? Like, mid, 4, or carry. It just never seems to exist. So, that hero is probably still going to be good. Treant Protector, not a huge deal. Troll, they finally made this hero kind of get into the meta somewhat, despite the ult being bad, so they just keep buffing everything about it. So now you just have Battle Trance as like a basic ability that's normal. And they adjusted some of the numbers on here, because this no longer innate ability, this Berserker's Rage, it kind of like transferred it over here. It's not, I don't think it's really that big of a deal, but they did nerf it a little bit because it has been strong. Tusk, not a big deal of a change. Underlord, this hero was kind of like an interesting hero that people were picking a lot in the beginning of the patch, and then like it kind of fell off. It did get nerfed, I think, a little bit, so it's just a little bit awkward. Now this like new passive is that when people teleport, allied heroes, they temporarily gain damage reduction and movement speed. And then also even more at the Fiend's Gate. So, I mean, that could be kind of good. I mean, people definitely were picking this hero, trying him out. I just don't think, I always suspected it was not as good as people thought. And I think it maybe did get nerfed, but it's still, I was just not really a huge fan of it. Like, I actually like the hero in general. Like, I hope and want the hero to be good because it's very interesting, like what it can do with the Fiend Skate and all this kind of stuff. But it's just never really been that good of a hero. Like, people have tried it and it just always seems kind of bad. Undying, people just refreshing, like the respawn was kind of stupid, so now you can't do that anymore, but otherwise not a huge deal. Ursa's been a pretty good hero, so they don't really nerf it that much. I mean, it is getting nerfed, don't get me wrong, but it's not that much. So, I mean, it's kind of whatever. Veno, interesting that this innate now deals damage based on the debuffs, so I don't know if that's really that good. I think overall this might be a nerf. It's hard exactly to say, but it says this can be upgraded with Ag Scepter, increases septic shock base damage debuff from 10 to 20%. I mean, that's extremely boring. So, like, I don't know. I hate when they just, in some ways it's cool. Okay, you get an easy Ags or whatever, and then just makes the hero better, and you don't have to think about it. That's kind of fine, I guess, but I always like more of the, like, flashy, you know, just give me something else. Don't just make my passive better. It's kind of annoying, whatever. Viper, just kind of changing the corrosive skin thing to the innate ability, and doing more damage per missing health. So it's kind of whatever. But I mean, I think that's pretty good. Just like the Viper's attacks, where I think that was actually something on his poison attack before. So it's kind of good that you don't necessarily have to have poison attack for that to apply. Visage, kind of an interesting one where your innate ability, you kind of like, you know, as you're building up those cloak stacks or whatever, you're also, when you're not taking damage, the duration or your cooldown durations are reduced as you're doing both of those things, which is kind of an interesting idea to pair those two things together. But again, who plays Visage? There's like 3 people in the world that play this hero, so I don't even know. Void Spear is a very interesting one, and it's because this Call of the Void is kind of weird. So upon exiting to simulate, Aether Remnants are created at the 3 portals furthest from Void Spirit that last 4 seconds. No effect if reassembling from the center portal. Remnants face towards the center portal and have reduced pull duration and damage. But it's still a stun. It's still like control, and it's just an extra free thing that you got, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's good, because it's kind of one of those where you are dissimulating away from the people because you're kind of going on the opposite end. And so then, you know, anyone that's further away is getting stunned potentially. So it might be a little bit weird, but I don't know, maybe it's terrible and just means nothing, but it's kind of cool. Interesting idea. Warlock, not really too relevant there. Not big changes. Weaver's been like one of the 4 positions of the patch, so now they kind of changed it a little bit. This extra attack range every time you cast an ability is kind of like, do I really care? I mean, yeah, attack range is fine, and like coming out of Shikuchi and just being able to attack from further away is good, don't get me wrong, but Germinated Attack was one of the big reasons this hero was so good for so long, or for the recent patch. Wind Ranger, small change, not a big deal. Witch Doctor was the support of the patch for a long time there and then got nerfed, but I still think it's not bad, especially in pubs. But they changed this here, and they actually increased the self-heal, which is interesting because this hero was like broken. And honestly, just be careful when you mess with this Festeration thing, because it was absolutely ridiculous for so long. And then Wraith King's kind of been dead for a while, so they just buffed it a little bit, but I don't think it's anything super relevant. I'm not going to like make the hero amazing or anything like that. So that is the patch. That's, what is this? 7.37. I think the biggest thing is, you know, some of these changes were decent, like the Roshan change, the item changes, pretty significant. Iron Talon's cool, but I don't think it's actually that big of a deal. Really, the biggest thing was like making these passives more, like, make sense. Not just be like, oh, you get 5 levels in an ability. So they did that with a lot, like Abaddon and Anti-Mage and Beast. Did they do it with the Beastmaster? I think, yeah. And all these other ones. The biggest one, honestly, like, if I was going to summarize something of, like, what to look out for. Death Prophet, I think. This morning ritual. I just want to, like, highlight that. Look out for that. Going down through the other one. I mean, I don't know. Ember Spirit could be really good. Just go Radiance and just, like, burn people with everything you're doing. I don't know. I didn't really focus on it too much. But Huskar, I mean, who knows? This could be, like, really big. But I feel like maybe you kill yourself too quickly. Kunkus is a little bit weird. I don't know. I mean, maybe this like ghost ship thing, fleet, is like insane, but I doubt it's better than Torrent Storm. What's another big one here? Spirit Bearer, Lone Druid, interesting changes there. Oh yeah, Luna, a huge one. I think this hero might be like very, very good right now. Farming speed has an insane... Oh, and Medusa too. Medusa and Luna might just be like... It might be the AoE cleaving, like clearing through stuff and stacking meta, because Medusa and Luna might just be broken. I don't know. How is Medusa not broken? Someone explain it to me if you think it's not, because you got like 53 free things from this patch. And the hero also already wasn't even that bad. Also, even, yeah, like Nyx being, I think, a little bit buff with the break is a huge deal. This one, is just like whoever did this was drunk. Pub Stomper being nerfed. Any other big ones? I think that's kind of it. Yeah, this guy getting nerfed, kind of sad. They took away the eggs, but whatever. This guy getting nerfed, he's annoying in pubs. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the most part. Yeah, this weird, like, oh, you can see Roche respawn. Tiny, oh yeah, Tiny's the big one for the nerf-wise. It's just like, but again, the hero's not going to die. Like, let's be real. Come on, man. This hero's always relevant. And other than that, weird thing there with Void. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are, like, I think the big highlights of the patch. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments of this, you know, for this patch, and like Riyadh or anything that happened recently. And hopefully I'll be loading more videos here into the future, getting more consistent again after some of this IRL stuff dies down. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.